In the early 1920s, hospital wards across North America were filled with a quiet kind of heartbreak, pale faces, shallow breathing, the soft beeping of monitors that always seemed to slow, never speed up. In room after room, children faded away while their families stood helpless, clutching hands that grew colder by the day. The diagnosis was diabetes, and back then, it wasn't a condition, it was a countdown. Doctors could only offer starvation diets, cutting calories so low that patients wasted away even faster. A few extra months of life were considered a miracle. There were no real treatments, no real hope. Can you imagine? But somewhere in a small laboratory at the University of Toronto, a young surgeon refused to accept that answer. He had seen enough loss, first on battlefields and now in hospital wards, to know that hope deserved one more chance. He believed the pancreas held a secret, a substance that controlled blood sugar. If only it could be found and harnessed, maybe, just maybe, lives could be saved. Most people dismissed the idea as impossible. He didn't have a reputation or funding or fancy equipment. What he did have was a relentless drive and a young medical student who shared his conviction. The two worked late into the night, scribbling notes, refining methods, and holding on to faith when the results refused to cooperate. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Nothing came easy, but their belief, born out of compassion rather than ego, kept them going. Then, after nearly a year of frustration and failure, something changed. Their latest extract, a clear, simple solution, seemed to stabilize blood sugar in early trials. Not cure, just stabilize. But that was enough to keep going. By January 1922, they were ready to try it on a human being, a 14-year-old boy from Toronto. His parents had done everything they could. Doctors had tried every starvation diet known to medicine. His breathing had slowed, his body was weak, and his eyes had lost their spark. The doctors explained the risks. There were no guarantees, but his father gave a small nod, the kind only a parent gives when there are no other choices left. The first injection was given. For hours they waited. No change. A setback. But not the end. They refined the formula once more, making it purer, safer. 2 weeks later, they tried again. This time, it worked. His blood sugar dropped. His breathing steadied. Within days, he was awake, smiling, sitting up in bed. His parents wept, unable to believe what they were seeing. Nurses whispered in the hallways. Other patients watched as a boy everyone thought would die began to walk the corridors again. Word spread quickly. Within months, hospitals across Canada and the United States were begging for access to the new treatment. Patients who had been fading away found strength. Parents who had said their goodbyes were given a second chance to hold their children again. And perhaps the most extraordinary part of it all, those who discovered it refused to profit. When the university offered to patent their formula, they sold it for just $1. Insulin does not belong to us, one of them said. It belongs to the world. The young doctor was Frederick Banting, his student partner, Charles Best, and the boy who lived, Leonard Thompson, became the first person ever saved by their discovery. In the century since, millions upon millions of lives have been extended, restored, and transformed. From the tiniest infants to the oldest grandparents, every insulin injection today carries with it the echo of that first moment of hope in a Toronto hospital room. All because two people, armed with little more than conviction and compassion, refused to give up on the idea that science could serve the soul. And that is the power of a twist of fate. This has been Twist of Fate Radio. I'm Angela Clark. Until next time, remember, sometimes the smallest choices lead to the biggest consequences. Want to explore more stories like this? Visit twistoffateradio.com. There you can read more details about this story and others like it. Plus, you can submit your own Twist of Fate story to be considered for a future episode. You never know what twist of fate is coming next.